what we
into this week.
Like, I didn't know about that thing Supreme until I always
Hasan Minhaj.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I always fucked that thing.
White guy
Which did you see him testify in front of Congress recently?
Hasan Minhaj, or the guy from Supreme?
Hasan Minhaj.
No, what did he say?
It was about school loan debt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he put those motherfuckers to task. He was like, "Hey, when everybody in here went to college, you guys went to college for X amount, like way less than it is now." And then he went down the line and was like, "Senator such and such, when you went to Dartmouth, blah blah blah, it was this much to do it, and now measuring with inflation and this is the number." And he was basically challenging them to tackle the student loan.
Crisis. It is a crisis.
It is a fucking crisis.
And ultimately, what it'll mean is like parents and children will have to question whether or not they should go to college, if that's worth it or not.
Yeah.
So I'm 33, and growing up, it was drilled into our heads: you gotta go to college if you want a middle-class job. And we even tell kids today, look, if you don't go to college, you might as well get a face tattoo. And then they point to Post Malone, and we're like, okay, that's one guy. He's a very popular musician. But it's true. 2/3 of all jobs in America require at least some college. This is the standard now. And that wasn't the case when most members of this committee were in school. And you paid far less for your degrees. That's not speculation. We looked up where the 60 members of this committee went to college and what your school's tuition was at that time. Even adjusting for inflation, college cost way less across the board. Today, the average tuition at all of your same schools is almost $25,000. That's a 110% increase over a period of time when wages have gone up only 16%. So people aren't making more money, and college is objectively way more expensive.
Yeah, my parents were just like,
so it makes sense.
Yeah, they were like, you're going to college. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing, no matter what. You can do whatever you want, but you will go to college.
Yep, same. Well, it's the programming.
You can be a playwright.
But you have to go to college.
Yes. You can go to college for theater, but you're going to college.
I didn't even know you could do that. I always thought I was going to go to college on some sort of athletic scholarship. That was the dream. That was the goal. Because I drew, but ain't nobody gonna fucking pay you to go to college to draw, asshole. You're black, so
now they would.
Right?
Yes.
Motherfucker.
Now they would.
But back then it was like, I don't know. So like I played 4 sports growing up because I was keeping my options open.
Yeah.
I had to go to college on an athletic scholarship. So
which 4 did you play? I know you played football.
Football, basketball, soccer, and baseball.
The core 4.
The core 4.
The core 4.
Because at least if I made it to the collegiate level in any one of those, if I was good enough and stuck with it, maybe I might be able to be a millionaire on the next level. But when you're a black kid from New York in the 80s, that's how you dream. You dream to go to college so you could play sports and entertain people.
I'm only a year younger than you, and the reason I'm laughing is because immediately it popped in my mind, because I also played baseball, soccer, and basketball at some point, and it popped in my mind, like, what if you and I were on the same team?
You'd be the B string. A string. You'd be bench.
I'd be out in left field. Right field. I think right field was worse, right? That was the worst position.
Yeah. Right field is the worst.
Yeah. You got right field.
If you got right field, you knew you were trash.
Right field, you'd be shortstop.
They'd
be like, put him behind Rob. Rob never misses a ball.
I wanted to be shortstop, but no, they fucking put me at third. I was a third baseman.
I played third for a while. Third is a good
hot line,
position.
baby.
It is. It's a good one.
Hand-eye coordination.
I liked third base.
I liked third base too.
Yeah.
I wanted to play short.
I liked second base too. Shortstop, there's too much pressure.
Yeah, it was a superstar role. It was a superstar role. I wanted to be a superstar.
I was like, I'll take third. Third is like, it's not bad. You're out of the outfield.
I played third and I played second a little bit, but hot corner, baby.
Yeah,
I like that.
What position do you think you'd be best at baseball now?
Now, catcher with a seat, not even like squatting, just with a chair, like a low stool, like one of those shoe shine stools. Just throwing out.
So you like the position with the umpire, like breathing down their neck.
Yeah. Hey, will you back up, Tony?
Seriously,
your breath smells like sauerkraut, man.
Halitosis.
No wonder your wife left you. Okay, low blow. I'm sorry, Tony. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry, Tony.
Other than sports, what were you into this week, Mr. Robinson?
Well, sir, it was an interesting week. I started some new series, and then I got comforted by some old series. It was interesting.
Okay.
I jumped in this week with 3 new series. Well, 2 were brand new, and the third one I kind of dabble with, but it was actually my rewatching to actually intake it, because I had watched it, but I wasn't paying attention. And in order, it was The Spy, it's Sacha Baron Cohen's new one, where it's based on a true story, and he plays like a Mossad agent. Or a double agent.
Oh, this is a Netflix show.
Yeah, it's a Netflix show. And it's kind of... What drew me to it, one, was it's the first time I've seen Sacha Baron Cohen not do something clownish. Mm-hmm. And, like, I know the guy has comedic chops. You get that. But it's the first time you see him sort of, like, show you, he can carry a dramatic piece really well.
Do you consider yourself a patriot?
I love this country with all my might. Welcome to Syria.
If your country needed you to lie to your friends, your family, your wife, would you do it?
I will be a buyer working for the government.
If your country asked you to risk your life, would you do it?
This is the opportunity for me to give you the life that I promised you, Daddy. My name is Kamel Amin Thabit.
The Sheikh is your only way in. Please join me.
You've made a nice life for yourself here in Damascus.
When you walk into your room, everyone wants a piece of you.
Come in. Enjoy.
You can trust me with your life. I hope I can do the same. We all have secrets.
And they do a lot of really interesting things in sort of the storytelling. Like, you remember that movie Man on Fire with Denzel?
Yes, I do.
The new one?
I remember not liking it.
Yeah, I remember not liking it as much, but I did. There was parts of it that I did enjoy. And I don't know if you remember for that movie how, like, certain aspects of, like, somebody's writing or, like, whatever the character was reading would be shown to the audience on the screen. Mm-hmm. Like, if he was reading something or writing something, it would be like, they would show you the...
I don't remember that. I think it was right around the time when I was like, okay, like, here's like the black savior saving like a white kid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm beyond this. But maybe I know people who liked that movie, and I had meant to go back and watch it.
I would. When was the last time you saw it?
Like years ago. And I was on a bit of a. I go
5
through
year,
phases.
10 year?
Oh, like when it came out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, whenever that was. So 15 years ago.
Wow, has it been that long? Because Dakota was a child. Dakota was a child.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
I don't know. I feel like go back and check it out again. It may resonate differently than it did. But this, I'm going to put this one on the recommendation for people.
So Sacha Baron Cohen, he was supposed to be Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, I know.
In Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah.
We talked about this.
Yeah, and he had passed, and then Rami Malek took it over. Which
he didn't so much pass as in he wanted more creative control on the script.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah. What happened is he was like, yeah, but you guys got to let me touch the script up. Right. Is that what they call it? Or punch up.
Punch up, or whatever. Yeah. He wants to rewrite the script.
Yeah, the script didn't. He felt like the script was the weak point, which
probably
we discussed
not gay enough. You know what I mean?
I think that's from the reports I read, it had something to do with like he didn't feel like the story was true enough to who Freddie Mercury kind of was as a person.
There's an R-rated version of that movie, which I think would have been amazing.
Would have been more appropriate, yeah.
Which probably would have won Rami Malek the Oscar.
Again.
2 Oscars.
Yeah, they'd have given him twice. This is so good in the metaphysical realm. We're going to give you one for the metaphysical version of yourself in this role.
And also one just for the regular role. Here you go.
But Sasha does... I watched 2 episodes of this, and Sasha's kind of amazing in it.
Yeah, well, what's his other show that's on Showtime that I always mean to watch but forget?
He's got another show on Showtime?
Yeah, he's got another sort of...
Is it a drama?
It's not a drama. It's it's a satirical spoof comedy where he brings on Republicans and other people that need to be sort of trolled and then trolls them.
Not the most recent one he was doing, the one where he
you heard about it.
Yeah, it was the one where he got like people to
I'll find it here in a second.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about, but no, it's a departure from all of that.
Who is America?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a complete departure from all of that. That's the reason I kind of clicked on it, because he's playing
well, he shaved his mustache for one.
No, no, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
Oh.
He starts with a clean face. And
there you go.
You see it, but basically, apparently this story is true. It's based on a true story, but he plays basically is an Israeli spy. And sort of what that entails. It's kind of beautiful and fascinating, and watching him kind of do something you're not used to seeing him do and do it well. It's intriguing. I plan to continue watching it.
So that's The Spy on Netflix.
Spy on Netflix. It's brand new. Came out this week, I think.
Dad.
Euphoria. Dad, The Spy on Netflix. The next one is Euphoria, which I've talked about on the podcast before, but I didn't. This was the first time I actually sat down and gave it a thorough one thing.
Oh, this is the HBO show.
Yeah, this is the one that's Zendaya. Zendaya. Yeah, she helms. It's good, but Zendaya. It's one of these things where the
Zenyatta. Wait, no.
It's Zendaya.
It's Zendaya. Who's Zenyatta?
You making up shit.
It's like a Street Fighter character.
Yeah, you making up shit over here. Just fall back.
She's a great Mary Jane. I like her. Fall back. This is my time. This is what I'm into.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
I promise you, if I could be a different person, I would. Not because I want it, but because they do. But here's the thing. One day, I just showed up without a map or a compass. And at some point, you have to make a choice. About who you are and what you want. And therein lies the catch.
I do have a hard time taking anybody with like a one name seriously.
Yeah, I think she has a last name.
Is she a singer, songwriter? Is that her deal?
No, I thought she was like Lenny Kravitz's daughter.
Is that it? Okay, so she didn't have a choice. She's just born. He's like, Zendaya. That's it. They're like, Zendaya Kravitz. She's like, nope, nope. He's like, nope, it's just Zendaya. That's what you want on the birth certificate. Just Zendaya.
It's all that to say, it's a good show. The camera is very invasive, so it reminds me of Kids. That movie Kids.
Oh, I love that. I love that movie.
Yeah,
that's going to come up to one of the things I'm into here in a second.
It has the darkness and the subject matter of Kids. Mm-hmm. But it's an episodic. Like I think it's each episode is like an hour. It felt like a 2-hour film. It was one of these gnarly ones. I was watching it like but it's good. It's compelling as fuck. And the way they shoot it, the camera feels very invasive. Like it's so close to the action, so close to everything,
almost assaulting people.
Yeah, it's almost like that's what it feels like. It feels like assault and I think it's appropriate based on the subject matter and the story that they're telling.
Well, that was Harmony Korine. This is why you think of that, because Larry Clark had some role in the Kids movie. I can't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. Harmony Korine was the director of that. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of, Larry Clark is this photographer here. This is some of his photos, just by coincidence, I have sitting right here from Laurel's art exhibit stuff.
No shit.
But basically, he rides that line of like, is this taking advantage of these people that I'm taking these photographs of?
Yes.
And Kids kind of felt like that.
Yes.
There were moments in Kids where you were like, whoa, do these kids really know what they're getting into?
Yes.
Yeah. I think Kids is a great movie. I like Kids a lot.
It's a phenomenally great movie. Yeah. But it's one of these movies that, like, like, I remember I saw it the first time, and then I didn't see it again for like a decade.
Yeah.
I was like, once was enough. It was like pouring liquid nitrogen into my brain because it froze me in the moments of that last image of that kid sitting in the bathtub after having raped that girl with AIDS.
Yep.
You're like, check please. I'm never having sex again for all the rest of my life.
Yes. What was that, 1993? 95. 1995.
I was going to say 94, 95. It would be more.
The kid who plays Tully in that used to walk around the East Village for a while.
No shit.
And he was always like, he was like he was like the rapey kid. But he wasn't the rapey kid. He was the kid who's like, I love virgins and blah, blah, blah. I fucking only like to bang virgins and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, it was so gnarly. God, it was so gnarly. And that's it. This show, at least that first episode of Euphoria, that's what it kind of invoked for me as I was sitting here watching it. Like,
yeah.
But it's like Kids meets Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah. So it kind of combined two, and this is going into one of the things that I was into this week. But it combined these two things for me. The movie Kids. The soundtrack was overseen by this guy named Lou Barlow. Lou Barlow was the singer-songwriter and main frontman of a band called Sebadoh. I got into Sebadoh when I was like 14, so that would have been 1994.
What's the music? What's the music type?
It's rock. It's rock and punk and kind of like just weird indie rock kind of things.
In the style of like the Ramones, in the style of like, well, what would you equate it to? Like for your layman's, it was if you were a cool kid, it was what you were listening to instead of Nirvana at the time. Oh. Nirvana was really super cool, and they kind of they were the mainstream.
Yeah,
version.
they went mainstream, and so there are people who were listening to Nirvana before they became super popular. But for me, like, Nirvana just kind of showed up and it was like all over MTV. Yeah. And my sort of like feeling at the time was like, I want to listen to things that I'm not being told to listen to.
Right.
That I'm going to find my own kind of things. Yeah, and that's what Sebadoh was. They weren't millionaires. They weren't like blowing up with videos and all these things. So Lou Barlow oversees the soundtrack. And even before I saw the movie Kids, I went out and bought the soundtrack because it had a couple Folk Implosion songs on there. A song by Slint, and the first song...
So you had the music for the movie before you actually saw the movie?
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
The first song on the album is Casper by this guy, Daniel Johnston. And Daniel Johnston just died on September 10th. He died at 58 years old. And the movie that I watched this week, on the day that he died, was called The Devil and Daniel Johnston. It was basically a documentary about him.
Netflix?
Yeah. No, not Netflix. Sorry, okay. I had to find it in a special way, basically. But that movie was directed in 2016. No, 2005.
Say the title again.
The Devil and Daniel Johnston. And so he was a manic depressive sort of genius singer songwriter. That as he grew older, his manic depression sort of takes over. But when he's young, he's just got all of this like raw power and raw like kind of genius ability. He's sort of like he's infatuated with the Beatles and can kind of hold his own. Like he's just got like really great songwriting skills. I don't have a lot to say about it, but like it's a really good documentary about him. It came out years ago, 14 years ago, basically.
And he just died, and that's what brought you back to watching it.
Yes, exactly. His music is very childish sounding, because he kind of like has the mental... He's like one of these Henry Darger type artists that kind of have mental issues, but they create all of this work, and their work is good, but people latch onto it even more when they realize that this artist has mental issues, for whatever reason that is, The documentary doesn't go into too much of that, but you see it happen. You know what I mean? There's artists like that I feel like we do this with, that we kind of watch them to see the shit show a little bit. Kanye West is a little bit like that.
Oh, now for sure.
Yeah,
now he is for sure.
He wasn't all well. He was always pretty boisterous, but like
he definitely was pretty boisterous. But like the music that he was making sort of backed up the level of like, I'm a genius, I'm so smart, I'm a genius, I'm so smart.
Right.
And then I think the death of his mom is what really kind of sent him off the rails a bit, because it stopped being about the music and about how much he was a genius for creating it, and being about like how smart he was for just existing on the planet and breathing air.
Right.
Which I was like,
she died in like a plastic surgery accident.
Yeah,
right?
it was something that it was a procedure that she didn't need to be doing, but she was doing it anyway, and I think he was paying for it.
Oof.
And so I think the death of his mom under elective surgery that he was paying for has sent him spiraling. And when I think like we talk about, like, I don't know, but when you're at that level of fame and notoriety, and when you're constantly being viewed, I don't think the dude ever had a time to just cry about his mom. I don't think. I mean, when you're surrounded by yes men and people who their come up is based on you staying liquid and legitimized,
right?
Like, who's gonna be like, yo, bro, it's okay to just not do the rest of this tour,
right?
Cry for
take a loss, take the $1 million loss and just chill,
and just cry for a little bit. And I think that legitimately is what I think has and is Kanye's problem. Is he never really has.
He never cried.
He never cried. He never dealt with the fact that his mom died on his watch.
Yeah,
with his money.
Mm-hmm. That kind of goes into that Bill Burr moment, which we'll talk about. Bill Burr's stand up in a special. Mm-hmm. What was it called? Paper Tigers, right?
Paper Tiger.
But the moment where he's like, how I deal with anger, when he's got to give up the dog.
Right.
I don't deal with it at all until I explode, basically.
Right.
My wife spends like a week crying into the mirror in the bathroom. She spent
a week subtly crying into the bathroom mirror while she's brushing her teeth, whereas he just repressed and repressed. There was a few moments in the special where Bill is, and I guess that's kind of really telling, because I was watching his special this week because I knew we were going to talk about it and kind of do like a comparison between his special and Dave's special.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
Yeah.
I won't say any more than that.
Yeah, we'll get into it in just a second here if you're listening. But The Devil and Daniel Johnston, 2005, directed by Jeff Feuerzieg. Feuerzieg? Doesn't matter, whatever.
Yikes.
It's a good movie. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. I hadn't seen it, and I was a fan of Daniel Johnston. He you know what he would do is he would make like mixtapes and then just go hand them out. And he was like if you ever meet some of those people who are just so nice and so weird that you notice them and you pay attention to them.
Like they're on the spectrum weird?
They're on the spectrum, yeah, a little bit. There's something about them that they get a lot of attention because of that as artists, because of that thing. Yeah, anyways, check it out.
Basquiat had a little bit of that.
Yeah, maybe. Not that, I don't know. I haven't seen the Jeffrey Wright movie version in a long time.
Yeah, but no, I mean, just based on like I remember I'm remembering the documentary about him and sort of the people who they interviewed for like who were in his life, like girlfriends and exes or whatever, and sort of like the manicness of how he would create his art. I mean, this is back before we even knew that a spectrum existed. You know what I'm saying? Before we knew how to diagnose people like that. I mean, the cat was homeless.
Right.
Come from this fucked up, family life where he was thrown out young, blah blah blah. But like, just in the way he created art, like I feel like that's the level of like, what you're talking about as well.
Well, there's and this kind of goes towards the Henry Darger thing. There's these individuals that create art no matter what, and they do it obsessively, compulsively, and then somebody finds it, and then they figure out how to make money towards it.
Like your man Warhol.
Like Warhol, yeah. But Warhol even later, just started like giving people ideas and saying, go do this, and then they would take it off, and then they would print it, and they would mass produce, and a whole bunch of other artists would pull all that stuff together for him based off the idea that he told them to do, and then he would sign his name off on it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of artists that still kind of that do that. That's not like that's a secret thing.
It's a practice in the business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, what else you got?
Shitty practice, but practice.
I got one more thing other than the Bill Burr thing.
So it was, and I'm going to go fast because I already spoke a little bit about the other new thing that I watched was Carnival Row.
Right.
I already spoke my piece about it.
It's great. Greatly overrated.
I feel like if you were a fan of sort of True Blood and that ilk of storytelling, you could probably find something in this that you can latch onto. I feel like if you want a little bit more depth and storytelling in your fantasy, look elsewhere. This isn't even like Game of Thrones level fantasy. Ooh. This is
The Magicians. Go to The Magicians. That's a good show.
Magicians. That actually is a good fantasy show.
Yeah.
I didn't. I think they're on their maybe 4th season.
Yeah, my wife watches it, and I always come home and it's on, and I'm like, let's restart this because it's always good.
I jumped off that ship. The first couple of seasons are really good.
Yeah.
I jumped off the ship probably in that middle 2nd season to 3rd season kind of transition. It shark jumped.
It also bounced around. For a while it was on Netflix, then it was on like Amazon, then it was
I thought it was on Sci-Fi. Wasn't
then
it
was
Sci-Fi?
on Sci-Fi. It's always on Sci-Fi is what it comes out on. So if you want to watch the new episodes, go to
on
Sci-Fi.
Right.
But I think the first
it's on
2
syndication
seasons
in something else.
are on Netflix. I think so. It's a great show, I think. It gets better as you go through it. Yeah.
It gets better? Because I thought it was getting worse, and that's why I jumped off.
I think there is a little lull, but what I've been watching in the 3rd and 4th season are great. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Interesting. Okay, I might have to go back to it.
Yeah.
I fell off... And it mainly had to do with the 2 main people, like the dude with the hair and the pretty blonde girl with the glasses.
Yes.
I was like,
yeah.
You're making this too much about these 2 motherfuckers. And I'm like, she is hot. That is a very pretty woman.
You can ask Laurel, my wife, about it. She likes it a lot. Yeah, she read some of the books. It goes away from them as well.
I think me and Laurel actually might have talked about this before. Anyway. I got one new addition, and you were shouting out actors, and I kind of want to shout out one that I know and one that you know, Stephen Plunkett.
Oh yeah,
he was, I guess he had a movie at the IFC Center here in New York called Chained for Life, and it was a New York Times critics pick. I don't know anything more. I don't know who he plays in it. I just know that he was in it because it's been all over his Facebook this week, and he's been sort of throwing promotional love to it. But it looks good. And if cats who listen who don't know, Stephen Plunkett, he was a classmate of mine. He's a classmate of Rami's. We all got into the game together. But I know Plunkett from Texas.
He plays a character named Max.
He plays a character named Max in this movie called Chained for Life.
Yeah, and so
it looks like based on just looking at the picture and it looks like an Elephant Man-esque kind of telling, or like a Mask, the one with Cher, kind of story.
It says a beautiful actress struggles to connect with her disfigured co-star on the set of a European auteur's English language debut. And so I think the main actor who
is a guy who has this
whatever that is.
Whatever that thing
Adam Pearson, I think, is his name. I could be wrong. There's no picture for him, which is odd.
Telling.
Yeah, or that's telling exactly.
You probably doesn't have a headshot because his head changes.
This looks really interesting. I'll try to see if I can find moments of the trailer with Stephen Plunkett in it. I'll put some little voice spots.
That'd be great.
Sir Stephen.
So patients have very serious diseases. They are highly contagious. If anything ever were to happen to you.
That sounded like a real gun. Is everyone okay? What happened?
Cut! I think there are hunters out there.
If anything ever were to happen to you, I'd never forgive myself.
There are some bold casting choices in this film. Do you have any reservations about it?
Where have you been hiding? You gotta meet Rosenthal.
You liked how I shouted action.
So good, but that one's not your job. The first trick to learning your lines is to stop worrying.
Just stand in the shadows, and when I say action, then walk out into the light.
Walk out.
Step out of the shadows and into the light. Let us now try it. It's just a rehearsal. Action.
Who's there?
Don't be frightened.
No, but you need to say it exactly as you're emerging from the shadows into the light.
Yo, shout out to that boy, Stephen Plunkett. That's my dude.
He's a sweetheart, too.
That's my dude, yeah. I've known him for a long time. I've known him before we went to UE. I've known him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've known him. Like, I know Stephen Plunkett and Amelia McLean probably the longest of any of the people that I went to UE with.
Longer than me.
Yeah, because with Amelia, our high school theater teachers knew each other, and because we came out of Texas and we were doing Texas theater, we were our schools were always in direct competition with each other. So I remember one year, like me and Amelia and I were like best actor and best actress at district respectively, in one of these like Texas theater competitions. I don't know if you guys did this in Indiana, but in Texas we did this thing called UIL, where we would take, it was a competition where you would take a full length play, chop it down to 40 minutes, do it. You get 15 minutes to set up, do the play, and then you get 15 minutes to break it all down, and you were timed.
And that was all in 40 minutes?
Yeah.
The setup?
Setup included, you had 15 minutes at the top, 40 minutes to do the show, and then 15 minutes to break it all down, and you were timed. And this was a competition, and then you got judged. We like this show better than this one based on these elements.
Right.
Like your set was really cool, or like
I would spend 38 and a half minutes setting up an awesome set.
Well, you didn't have 30. You only had 15. You only had 15 to set up. And 15 to take down, but you had 40 to tell the story.
Okay, so 15 on like bookending.
On bookend.
Got it. Okay,
and in the middle was, so I mean, basically had like, what was that 40 minutes and then 30 minutes, like an hour 10 to do as a play. So you had, and that was your time. And if you went over, you were disqualified.
The 15-minute setup is strange to me because like, are we judging on the entire storytelling apparatus, the entire package, the set and the acting?
Yes.
So it's not just okay.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
exactly.
Okay.
Now imagine doing that. That was how that's how I ended up at UE. We would do these in Texas. We would do these theater competitions, and if you did well, you progressed to state. That just like like in football, there was like district, area, regional, state, national.
Right. So you would have a team of people who are in charge of the set. You're not setting it up as the actor.
Yeah, you are setting up as the actor.
Okay.
You
are?
Yes.
Are you designing it as the actor?
No. Somebody else designs it.
Got it.
And then this is sort of like it's a season. You have it like a season. Like I think it was like I think it was like in the middle of your year it would take place, because at the end of the school year you would go to nationals, and nationals took place in Nebraska. The International Thespian Festival. Did you ever go? Not a thing for you, huh?
No,
That's how I ended up at UE.
I had a high school that did not really. There was an internal drama between the speech teacher and the drama teacher.
Really?
The drama teacher had been there for years, and she had done all the plays and directed them. And the story was, who knows if it's true or not, the story was that when she took time off to have another baby, basically they gave the bulk of the theater productions to the speech teacher.
And then
so when she came back, they said, "No, we don't want you to do these anymore. We're going to let the speech teacher have it." So while I was taking classes and being loved by the drama teacher, when it came to auditioning for the plays that the speech teacher was directing, she did not like me because I didn't take any of the speech classes. Yeah. So I never got cast in anything. Whereas the drama teacher, whenever she did her summer production, would put me in something. Yeah. I was not a great actor at the time anyway, so it's like, who knows what I really would have gotten? I don't know.
I mean, you don't know. I mean, maybe you were a good actor. Maybe you just didn't have the proper place to sort of like, I don't know, spread
marinate.
Your acting chops. Or marinate. I don't know.
I had to marinate somewhere. I had to bring out the flavors, But no, so by the time I got to college, ready to act, I was kind of blown away that people had like auditioning, had like been trained to audition.
Oh yeah.
I'd never, no one even said that was a thing to me.
I was overly prepared for UE. I showed up at UE being like, yo, I could run circles around an audition room with all you motherfuckers.
I should have met you first, and you should have let me know.
I'd have put you on, homie.
I'd have let me know.
I definitely would have put you on.
Because I think it would have gone a long way. I don't think they knew what to do with me at that school as an actor. I was small and young.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, say what you want about I'm not gonna sit here and kind of disparage UE too much. I mean, I could. I'm not going to, because
not this episode. We'll do another episode.
It brought so many of the people that I still. I mean, it brought you into my life.
Right.
It brought so many of the people that are still like some of my peoples into my life. So I can't shit on them for that. What I will shit on them for is the fact that if you were different, if you were somebody who was against the grain, if they didn't know how to deal with you, they just didn't deal with you. They just didn't. They just left you to, like cats like Alex Chappell. Alex Chappell is one of the dopest artists that I've ever met in my life. Artist, like all around. Like the cat can do so many different mediums of art well. But when he showed up at UE didn't know what the fuck to do with him, so they made him jump through all these hoops. They kind of dismissed him. Name a show that you saw Alex Chappell in that you were like,
6 Degrees of Separation. But that was a student
That
production.
was a student production that they loaned out to a museum and things like that.
And the same thing happened to me. I had to do
and the same thing that happened with Joe.
Yeah.
And the same thing that happened with a lot of cats that we know now were really dope artists and were just different from what UE kind of prescribed as necessary artists. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only really thing that I showed up. I was like one of 2 black guys in my class.
Even Rami. I mean, even Rami was like, they kind of did not really give Rami leads.
Not at all.
No.
Like Rami had that. There's a great photo of Rami in the Kentucky cycle.
Yeah.
And I
think I've heard you talk about it. Go ahead.
If I already talked about it, I don't want to talk about it again because it kind of frames my point in that. Yeah. If they didn't know how...
Tell the listeners what the photo is, so they don't have to scroll through 40 episodes of
there have been motherfuckers who have like literally... Because it's on like... What's that major like... internet American picture? Is it Gimor or Igmore?
Oh, yeah, Igmore. IMGUR.
Image, like an image search type thing. You know how many motherfuckers who have found images of Rami with me in the background and been like, "Is it him?" I'm like, yeah, that's that. And there's one from Othello. There's a major one from Othello.
I'm still waiting for that story. We're gonna do that one. We're gonna do a whole episode on this story at one point.
And then there's the one that I know as sort of like. I want to say it's kind of like how I feel about like my relationship with Rami's career and my career. Sure. Where I'm in the photo, but I'm being blocked by a watch that Rami is holding up. He's in the foreground, standing in like a hole, and he's holding up this watch. And then there's a giant chorus of motherfuckers behind him. Yes. And the only motherfucker that you can't see is my ass because I am behind the watch that he's holding up. That's kind of like...
Even I'm there.
It's sort of like the epitome of the story of my life. But yeah.
That's the acting saga.
Ugh.
Another American saga is the Wu-Tang Clan, which I started watching at 12 o'clock last night. Just as I just wanted to check it out. For some reason...
I wanted to check it out too. I wanted to check it out last week.
I hadn't heard it was good. I hadn't heard anything about it. The only thing I'd seen was there were posters on the subway.
Yeah, same.
And that was it. That was all. I don't know what led me to that.
I think because I had talked about
is that
watching.
What it was?
I had talked about like almost watching it last week, but I didn't get around.
I don't know why at 12 o'clock at night last night I was like, I'll start this, and I put it on and watched the first episode. In the first 10 minutes, I was like, this is kind of bad. The acting is not great. The directing is a little hard, and the dialogue felt forced. Yeah, it felt really forced. But then after that, it kind of opened up and got really good.
Really?
Kind of Shakespearean. I don't want to spoil too much because I want you to see it.
I'm going to now.
But there's, this is about the rap group Wu-Tang Clan from Staten Island.
It's a Wu-Tang story.
Yeah.
And I'm always a little skeptical of motherfuckers telling their own stories, especially when they're still alive.
Yes.
This is the same issue I had with the Straight Outta Compton story. Ice Cube, NWA story.
Mm-hmm.
I had issues with the movie because I was like, bruh, we lived a lot of this. You can't...
It's like my dad every time I bring up JFK, he's like, I lived through it. I don't want to see that. Anything that happened that you lived through, I don't think you want to reimagine it.
Right. And that's same issues that I had with The Wire, and it kind of played into a lot. But like, this is one of those that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Because I also lived this, but I feel like I don't know. I wasn't nearly as gung ho about watching it, but hearing you talk about it now, I think like
I didn't think I was going to be gung ho about it, and I still think some of the acting is a little questionable. But then other times, it's sort of like, you know who's in it is the guy from The Get Down, who is Shamik Moore.
Who's he playing in The Get Down? Is he the bad guy in The Get Down?
No, he's the main kid, the main guy.
Justice? Not the guy with the afro. The guy who was in Detective Pikachu?
It's been a while.
The Get Down.
Yeah. I'm trying
to... Was he the dark-skinned motherfucker or the light-skinned motherfucker?
Dark-skinned.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. I got you.
Also in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I'm just learning.
As who?
I don't know. That's what I'm just seeing here, right here. I didn't realize. My voice is somebody.
Interesting. Okay. But I know who you're talking about now, yeah. It actually
he's
sounds like he's Miles.
He's Miles.
That's what I think he is.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Miles Morales and Into the Spider-Verse, I'm just learning.
I was just listening, I was like, wait. Oh, because I remember his... Yeah. He's Miles.
So he plays the Giza. The whole thing is told from the RZA's perspective. The Jizza, sorry. I was not a humongous Wu-Tang fan, to be honest.
Which is odd, because you're a hip-hop head.
Yes. I liked the Wu-Tang Clan. I had their album, their first one. So I know a lot of the songs.
36 Chambers.
I appreciate the songs now more for the samples and the beats than I do the rapping. Mm-hmm. But I also had Liquid Swords.
That's. I mean, not for nothing. I agree with you. Like, I feel like I wasn't a big Wu-Tang fan myself, and I came to them later in the same way. I liked their sampling. I liked their beats. I wasn't so much a fan of all of their MCing.
Yeah,
I thought Method Man was the shit. I thought
Ghostface Killer
was a murderer.
Yeah,
like there was a few of them that could spit fire, but the rest of them I thought were just kind of meh.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So they didn't, as a group, they didn't really kind of like blow me away, but they were really well. Like the beats were like, RZA is one of the dopest producers that doesn't get a lot of love.
Yes.
RZA, like I think he produces like almost 80-90% of the music that they, beats and stuff that they made. And still, to this day, like he's one of the better producers on the planet.
Yeah, like I've never seen any of the Tupac remake things about his life. I've never seen the remakes of the Notorious B.I.G. I just didn't want to watch another actor portray these characters.
Same.
But when this,
I actually did watch a bunch of them. But,
when this started, it's also written by the RZA and another guy who's a Chinese American, basically.
Okay.
And so what I kind of like about it, it's like if I was in charge of writing the story of you and I, our thing, you know what I mean? Like, I can indulge a little bit because it's our story, but I also can like lend a lot of truth and insight into it because it's our story, and it can start in 1998 or 99 when I meet you, and maybe it gets a little outlandish, but this is myth that we're telling, you know what I mean? A little bit.
I get that, but it doesn't seem to work when you're telling a story that other people can fact check.
Yes,
because that's what Straight Outta Compton fell down on.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, there was myth and there was exactly what you described, but there was also people who were like, "Well, what about the spousal abuse?"
Yes.
What about that? That's not how that went down. You actually, did XYZ and said XYZ. When other motherfuckers can step up and fact check, that's when I'm kind of like.
And that might come out of it, but I'm enjoying how some of it feels, and I don't know what's true, and some of it doesn't.
Yo, play that beat again, son.
Get you open like 6 packs.
This is where you should be putting your work into, not the streets.
Spread this fire through the streets. I grew up on the crime side.
This work we do.
The New York Times side.
It's all for family. And we just trying to make music, yo.
You listening to beats? You ain't listening to the whispers out in the streets.
Music. It must be nice to have dreams, but they ain't real. This house is real. That food on your plate, the money is real. Your way ain't the only way, bud.
But there's one moment at the very beginning where I won't give anything away. If you want to watch it,
I will.
It's on Hulu. But somebody comes in, they shoot up an apartment, right?
Mm-hmm.
and the guy who they try to shoot up, they miss. And that's Ghostface Killer's character, basically. This is the very first thing as it opens. And so the guy with the gun takes it and gives it to RZA and says, hold this for me. Later, at the end of the episode, the guy whose apartment got shot up also knows RZA, goes to his house, finds the gun, doesn't realize it's the gun that they tried to shoot his house up, takes it to go kill the guy who shot up his house. It's just interesting little tie-ins like that. I'm on the third episode right now, and there was just a sort of intercut scene between a jail and also a beatbox showdown. You know, like a what's the word I'm thinking of?
Battle.
Freestyle battle. Interesting. It's kind of really good and kind of also really bad.
How many episodes?
I have no idea. I meant to look and I didn't look.
Okay.
Dave East is in it. Joey Badass, an actual rapper, plays. I think. No, who's he play? Well, he plays one of the rapper guys. Ashton Sanders, Sadiq Saunderson plays Ghostface Killer. I remember that guy. It's good. I'd check it out. Tell me what you think. You may hate it. I think you're gonna like it.
No, I'll definitely check it out.
Stronger that way. The treasure, old dirty bastard, inspector, that make porn the chef. Ghostface Killer.
We may be from separate hoods, but we gotta stick together.
Gonna make you big.
I'm gonna binge it tonight. What else you got?
I got one new thing, and then
we got Bill Burr too.
I'm gonna get into that. Hasan Minhaj's latest episode for the Patriarch and the last one of the season. I highly recommend viewing.
Did I watch it?
It's about police brutality.
Did I watch it?
Or the police.
I think I saw it.
I mean,
oh right, about the training. Yeah, the training for police. Yeah.
For me, anything to do with like the police force is always going to resonate harder with me than anything that he ever spoke of the rest of the season. But I definitely gave that 2 stars because I was like, fuck, yeah, yes.
Do you want to tell the story? And I didn't tell it on It about us coming. I'll edit it out if you don't. When we were walking home from It.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's it's a relevant story to tell, other than the fact that like there was a couple of cops kind of waiting.
Yeah,
it seemed like they were just waiting for. I don't know what they were waiting for, but they were going to get a guy who was sleeping on. It looked like he was sleeping on one of the grates.
Well, we're walking back from the movie. It's late at night. It's like because we saw it at 11 o'clock. It's about 2 in the morning.
It's 2 in the morning. It's like 2.
And we're smoking a blunt.
And we're walking down the street back to your place, and in the distance we see, and what I thought, having viewed it, I thought it was a bag full of garbage. It looked like a trash bag in the middle of the sidewalk. And as we get closer, I realized it's a human being. And I was like, oh shit! It was a guy passed out.
And he's a local guy that I've seen around Carroll Gardens. Very white neighborhood. Lots of money. It's a mental issue with this guy for sure. It's not like it's, you know what I mean? Like he needs help, and he's not getting it. He's just basically just kind sleeping of like in doorways. Wherever he can.
And then we go a couple yards down from him, and there's this group of cops just on the sidewalk, kind of off to the kind of in the street, like they pulled up and we don't. I mean, I don't know for sure, but what it looked like they were getting ready to sort of roust this guy from slumber and sort of like, I don't know, either put him in a wagon and get him off the street, or hassle him to move on somewhere else. Why am I telling this?
Well, because two things that happened was I had the blunt in my hand,
right,
and I put it immediately into my pocket.
Oh,
and we walked by these cops,
right,
and it's tense because 1, we're stoned, 2, we'd just been smoking a blunt, right, and it's cops, right. So then I take the blunt out after we pass, and it's actually still lit, which I thought was hilarious at the time.
Pretty nice.
But then the stupid thing that occurs to me is not stupid, but the thing I say is, and I meant this truthfully, was that like I hate being scared of cops.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, well, you know, in that way that like, yeah, well, how do you think I feel? Basically,
I was like, get in line.
Yeah.
I was like, get in line for the past, you know, how many years I've been on the planet.
But to me, I've always been kind of scared of cops. Like it sucks. It sucks to like, you know, basically.
I mean, and think about that. Think about that reasoning. If you're scared of cops,
yes, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so yeah. Sorry
to bring it up.
No, it's fine. Like it's something that we need to talk about because I think that's kind of
we shouldn't be scared of our protectors. Was my point.
You know,
regardless of what your skin color is. You know what I mean?
It's an issue that is inherently an American issue.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this level of fear is universal for cops around the world. I definitely think that especially in America, especially in this day and age where like you watch the Hasan Minhaj go and watch that episode. It will completely explain that reason for fear.
Yeah.
Because they're not held to any accountability. They're almost impossible to sue, which I didn't know. I didn't know that.
So get no jail time.
Like I like their unions like legitimately they only exist to be like take heat off their ass. Like
they can do whatever they want.
They are a gang that can literally get away and literally gets away with murder. And they're the ones that I'm supposed to like rely on when the shit gets thick.
Yeah.
Not ever.
And it's no wonder we don't want to walk by them at 2:00 in the morning.
Not ever in my life.
Home.
Like
you know,
I'm almost 40, and I can count on one hand the amount of positive experience I've had with police officers.
Yeah. You had a positive experience?
I asked one for directions once, and he told me, and they were right.
I was walking with my kids once in Laurel, and this guy with amazingly beautiful eyes, like bright blue, pretty eyes, walked by, and I made eye contact with him, and immediately he held the contact, and I knew shit. That was not. This guy is fucked up. You know what I mean? And he started following us. Like, what are you looking at? What are you blah blah blah? And this isn't like broad daylight on Atlantic, rounding that corner right by Trader Joe's, and started coming at me while I'm holding my kids' hands with my wife. For about half a block, it's just like behind me, like, what are you looking at? Blah 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 blah. And like I know like this is like a guy you don't engage. I just know he's a big dude. And finally, I walk up and there's a cop just walking by right at the moment. I said, "That guy's messing with me, please." And he sees the guy coming up behind me and sees me holding the hands of my kids. I think the cop was on a Segway, no joke, or a bike or something like that. And the guy just immediately the cop immediately goes to the guy, and I walk off, and the guy does a 180 and walks the other way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have one other good cop experience. Okay. One time, this is after I graduated from the University of Evansville. I'm coming home from a party after working a 8-hour shift at Chili's. At the party, I smoked way too much weed. Way too much. And I'm kind of driving very slowly and very carefully. And I come to like a little, like kind of hill, and all of a sudden, my car breaks down. And I'm like stuck there on the road. And right at that moment, a cop pulls up behind me, and I'm like, "Oh God, this is like I'm having car issues, and I'm stoned. I gotta smell like weed. I'm not like too stoned to drive, but I'm like, I definitely have to smell like weed, right?" And I get out of the car, and I put my hazards on and get out of the car, and the cop gets out and is like, "What's the problem?" And I'm like, "Oh, my car just stopped." And he was like, "All right, well, put it in neutral. I'll help you push it." And he pushes it to the side of the road. And then I think, okay, well, he'll help me call somebody. He gets in his car and just drives off. No shit. I'm like, well, I appreciate you leaving, but like, I'm like stranded. He doesn't ask like, do you have help? God. This is like before cell phones, you know what I mean? Or not before, but like you have no guarantee that you have a cell phone.
That's awesome.
I walked for like 4 hours on the way home.
I remember another instance of a time a cop was marginally okay to me. I was on Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, yes. Location matters. Location matters.
I was on the vineyard, and I had just walked, my date home. And I was on my way back to where I was staying, and I was on a bike. And Martha's Vineyard is kind of an undulating topography for the island. and it was pitch black. There's no street lights out there. Like when it gets dark out there, it's fucking dark.
It's dark as shit.
And I was coming down this hill. I was speeding down this hill on this bike, and I was like, it was dumb. I was like looking at my phone for like directions, and like my hand kind of inadvertently like hit the front brake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I basically just went over my handlebars.
No.
Boop! So I went ass over tea kettle down the rest of this hill. Shredded like a good portion of my I was wearing flip flops. It's the island.
Because you're on
the island.
You're on an island.
So I shredded like a good portion of like my big toe skin off. My phone hits the ground, like goes into pieces of it go scattering into other people's yards.
I had a phone like that.
And so like now I'm in the pitch blackness, kind of picking around someone's yard, looking for the pieces of my phone. When what happens? Whoop, whoop, cop rolls up on me. He's like, "Hey, can I ask you what to do?" You know, the standard cop bullshit. And I'm like, I just had like the bike is still in the middle of the street. I'm like, I just had a catastrophic collision with the ground, and I'm trying to find the pieces of my phone in this yard. It would really be helpful if, I don't know, you shine your flashlight over here. And I could tell like he was like, "Oh man." Actually a black dude who's not doing some shit.
Thought I had something there for a moment.
And he reluctantly, after some time, actually helps me clean. Like he basically shines his light while I find the pieces of my phone and put them back together.
Still, he's like, maybe he'll drop some bricks.
Maybe he'll come at me really, really aggressively. and then once I find the pieces of my phone, I sit down to address the gaping wound that is my bleeding foot. So I'm finding my broken flip flop. My flip flop's fucking broken. I'm untangling my bike. I'm figuring out if it's still rideable, and my foot, all the while my foot's just gushing blood all over the place. And then finally he's like, "All right," and he takes me back to the back of his squad car, pops the trunk, and like hands me just enough bandage and like cloth to sort of like do myself up, and then he proceeds to dip the fuck off. So yeah,
that's an okay story.
Two times.
I got a bunch of bad stories. We'll say for another time.
I got tons
of bad stories.
Yo, our boy Adam Knight, who is the artistic director of a theater out in Iowa.
Yes. Miss you, Adam.
His birthday was last week.
Happy birthday!
I sent him a happy birthday text, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing in January, February? I want to bring you out on a contract." And I was like, "That's a long time from now. I may be fucking dead for all I know."
Iowa.
And two, fuck Iowa, man. You don't hear I ain't told you my Iowa story. I spent 17 hours in an Iowa County lockup.
That's right.
Fuck that state. That state can eat my asshole.
That's right. I remember this.
I got
10 years ago.
Oh my god, it's more than 10. Yeah. It's probably like 13, almost close to 15. But yeah, I spent 17 hours in an Iowa County lockup on Valentine's Day. I'll never forget it. Every Valentine's Day is my anniversary for the time I went to fucking jail in Iowa.
For defending yourself, right?
Not even that. I was walking down the street with a Mexican smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
That's what I went to jail for that night. That's what I went to jail for that night. So, a rule of thumb, if you're out in Iowa and you happen to be friends with a Mexican-American individual, or just a Mexican, don't walk down the street with them at night. They will
don't
lock
smoke
you
cigarettes
up.
Either.
They will lock you up. But yeah. So, anyway, long story short, the last two things, I was vacillating between the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I would watch like 10 episodes of Deep Space Nine and then watch like a season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. The writing, it's really fucking funny. It's Tina Fey executive producing, and I think she's written a few of the episodes, and she stars in it a couple of the episodes.
Does it get better? Because I feel like I tried to watch it years ago when it came out and couldn't get into it.
It stays about the same. It doesn't. It stays about exactly the same. But
I also don't like Third Rock.
You don't. It's 30 Rock.
30 Rock.
You didn't like 30 Rock? Okay, then you're not gonna like it.
I kind of liked it, but then it just was like one of those shows where like it was like kind of like Seinfeld for me, where I was like, I should like this. It has all the things. I like it more than Seinfeld.
I couldn't stand Seinfeld.
Yeah,
I don't like Seinfeld. I feel like you're right. I feel like it is in the same vein as Seinfeld as far as like. No, it's different because I feel like at least I feel like every episode of Seinfeld that you watch had nothing to do with the previous episodes of Seinfeld.
It would be like you watching a TV show about actors.
Yeah,
in a way.
They did extras. I mean, Ricky Gervais show.
Yeah, I liked extras. I don't know. It's something about the writer's room. I want to be writers in a writer room, and so like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about that show that like I don't hate it, but like I also don't love it.
I think it's over the top in all the ways that make this that it doesn't take it's all tongue in cheek for me. Like in the way that Seinfeld would take itself so seriously. This happens in real life, whereas like the events and the things that happen in the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt are just so outlandish and so ridiculous. You're like, this is clearly satire,
right?
And it kills on all the satirical vibes, and especially now, like I didn't realize how much of the through line they undercut with like actual politics and things that are happening today. It's really quite interesting. Like the references to Donald Trump in it are subtle and yet like a break. In the same, these are the same people who, like, you remember how Bill Cosby got into trouble recently? Not recently. He got into trouble when Hannibal Buress made those jokes in that club in Philadelphia that kind of brought all of that shit back to light.
Okay.
Well, Tina Fey and
he almost single-handedly brought Cosby to jail.
And that's the thing.
Like he went to Cosby's house, rang the doorbell.
He was basically he was riffing off of something that Tina Fey and Amy Poehler had referenced years before on Weekend Update, back when they were both on SNL and they were doing Weekend Update.
Right.
They had alluded to the fact that Cosby
that stuff had been out there for a long time, and
nobody had done anything about it. I feel like it's kind of the same in the same vein. Like they're alluding to a lot of the stuff that's happening and has been happening in this very like sort of satirical and tongue in cheek way. And then I would jump over and watch like 10 episodes of Deep Space Nine, which
give me the best episode you watched of Deep Space Nine real quick, because we got Bill Burr to talk about and we got comments.
Okay. There are two. The first one was the one that sort of sews up some mythos from the original Star Trek. You remember in the original series there was this transporter accident that sends Kirk to basically another dimension, that there were evil versions of the crew.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Well,
the multiverse.
They basically introduced a multiverse in the Star Trek universe. Well, the episode where that happens, where Kira and I think it's O'Brien. No, Kira. Was it Kira and O'Brien? No, it's Kira and Bashir. They go to the other side and meet versions of themselves. But it was sort of one of these things where
the Mirrorverse,
and Next Generation played with it because Riker,
had parallel. That was parallels.
Yeah,
is what
it started. Worf. It started with the original. The original was sort of where that happened, and then Riker kind of expounded, and then they go back to it in this one, and then the second one was when second episode is when Cisco and Dax and
it's a lot of characters to remember.
Yeah, Cisco, Dax, and it was Julian again. They get sent to an alternate reality where they get thrown into the past, and they have to try to not affect the future by their events. But they're in like this slum. I don't know if you've seen this episode yet, but they're. It's 2024, so it's not far from now. And the world, they land in what they think is San Francisco in their time, but it's San Francisco like hundreds of years in the past. And they end up in basically like this ghetto because they don't have ID. And they end up in like this sanctuary city in San Francisco, which is on this particular date, which was the date that this really catastrophic riots happened based on the fact that all these people were just being thrown into these sanctuary cities because there was no work, and they were basically kind of like what I could see happening in this country in a few years if shit doesn't get right. Where like if you're poor, if you don't have work, they just kind of shovel you off into like a ghetto just to forget about you kind of thing.
Yeah, in the Star Trek canon, they talk about World War III and kind of the aftermath. That's where First Contact, the Next Generation movie, takes place. Is the aftermath of World War III. Yeah. So I wonder if this is before World War III.
I feel like in going back and rewatching Deep Space Nine, it is the better. It's the best Star Trek.
Okay,
it's the best Star Trek.
Jury's still out for me on that one.
It's the best Star Trek vehicle.
I'm a married man with a kid, but I'll tell you this right now: if I've learned anything in 5 years of being married, is we're always working on me. I just think to myself, like, what could my wife complain about? I fucking crush everything. I pick up after myself. I like to think I'm a good dad. I work my ass off and make a great fucking living. Crush all of that. All she has on me is who I am as a person. My daughter's yet to meet the real me. She's seen glimpses of me, like, oh, Daddy almost snapped his phone in half. I feel like I can be brave tonight and share this with you. Robot sex dolls, they're gonna fuck us into extinction. Stephen Hawking, you never had anything positive to say. The Me Too movement, white male privilege, hipsters. I'm a male feminist. By the way, this is gonna be my last show ever. By the time this fucking thing comes out.
Bill Burr, Paper Tigers on Netflix. Right. Comedy special to come out, a week after...
I'd say probably 2 weeks, right?
Has it been 2 weeks since Dave Chappelle?
Yeah, it's been at least
2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks after the Dave Chappelle Sticks and Stones. How did this one land for you? Were you offended?
Not at all. Not at all. There was no moment in this where I was like, too far, Bill.
Yeah. Not like
how I felt when I watched the Dave special, where there was at least that one moment where I was like, too far, Dave.
Yeah, and I think okay, keep going. Sorry.
No. I really don't have that much to say other than because like I said, I rewatched it, and I think Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle are pretty much the same echelon of comedic fame as far as like the amount of specials their notoriety, like the kind of shit that they say. But I feel like they would be like. If this was a graduating class of comics, I feel like they would be in the same class.
Yes,
comedically.
Yes,
they've been around probably around the same amount of time. They came up in the same kind of peer groups like that. I found it interesting that Bill's special was not in the country. He did his special in London.
Yeah, which
I thought was interesting because I don't think I've ever seen a special where Dave didn't play to an American crowd.
Yeah.
Which is vastly different than, playing.
There was one point where he was talking about jeans, and I was like, I know that they know what jeans are, but that's like, people talk about pants or knickers.
Right.
It'd be like that version of hearing a comic say knickers, pull on your knickers.
Colloquial thing.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Right.
So
initially I felt like what Bill Burr does well is he does a better job of riding the line between offense and the joke.
Yeah, I came, and I was watching it the whole time, listening to it, and not feeling the way that I felt about some moments of Dave Chappelle. Not all of it.
Yeah,
because really, when I'm talking about the criticism we gave towards Dave Chappelle, is really about one or two specific moments,
right?
And that's it. The rest of it, I feel like, did the same thing that this Bill Burr documentary does.
Same.
Where they're talking about something that's almost like letting off steam as a culture.
Right.
Like, we know that these are important issues. We know that what he's talking about is important.
Right.
But at the same time, it's creating waves and ripples that are
maybe unnecessary.
That may be unnecessary, or maybe are necessary, but are just growing pains. And now here we are, and we're together, and we're laughing about it. Because we need to blow off that steam. I also never really took him too seriously,
right,
when he was saying some things that if you took literal,
like the one moment that I could see people getting up in arms about was the bit about feminism and being like, they're not as smart as they think they are.
Yes.
They're all kind of idiots because the moment. But like like you said, he has a way of like setting it up and then diffusing it with almost like a compliment or almost like a. He's like, they want you to think that they're so smart, but just. Well, the fact that he, instead of calling it the first husband, he was calling the
first lady,
first
Mr. Lady or something like that.
Yeah, you're the first Mr. Lady or whatever. I'm like, it'd be first husband, clearly.
Yeah,
and and we know that he knows that, but just the fact that he made the choice to call this, the husband of the first woman president, first lady, things like that.
Like he seems to internally understand when he's being satirical in order to talk about something that's difficult to talk about. Right. And underneath all that, for me at least, I was thinking, he doesn't really believe that this is for the joke,
right?
Which is exposing, the complexity of this issue. Whereas occasionally with Dave Chappelle,
you kind of feel like he believed
that, yeah. Right. But then there were other moments with Dave Chappelle stuff where I felt the same way as I did about Bill Burr. I was like, he doesn't really believe that. Right. He's doing that for the joke.
Right.
The Michael Jackson thing, et cetera, et cetera. He also Bill Burr does this thing where he'll go off on this riff, and then when he's moving into another topic, he'll be like, no, yeah, I mean, so it's like this. So he'll say no immediately following a thing that might have been inappropriate, as if, no, that's not how I really feel. Obviously, I'm just sort of saying this for the jokes, because these things are, the way they are.
So, do you think that Bill Burr is a better comedian than Dave Chappelle is?
I think he's, in a way, being slightly safer on purpose.
Do you think that he did that? He had basically 2 weeks to sort of like fine-tune the editing, and
I don't think it was that. So? I think he does this with all of his stuff. I think he knows how to like say the thing that could be offensive, but say it in a way that we know that he's joking, and the reason that he's joking is to let off the steam of the issue and also kind of to expose the issue at the same time. Sort of like the no means no thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's a serious issue. No means no. That's a very serious issue. But what his joke is, sometimes it doesn't mean that.
Right.
Because it's true.
Yeah, he has that. Yeah, it was a good joke where he's like, no, stop. And then you get a guy reading
My
that.
wife does that to me. You know what I mean?
You get a guy reading that transcript in court, and then you give a bad reading of it. It's like, she said, no, stop, you're being bad.
And it's 100% accurate. Yeah. Now, exposing that kind of also exposes the general fear of being, male or specifically a white male.
Well, that he goes into Me Too.
That could happen to us. You know what I mean? Or, whatever.
His thing about Me Too was kind of on point.
There's kind of the feeling that like if you criticize any aspect of this stuff, that you're in a way defending it and condoning it. And things are much more gray than that. And I think everybody knows that things are much more gray than that. But when we start getting on these like comment pages or these kind of Twitter things, suddenly all that gray area goes out the window. So it was interesting to see his different takes on the gray aspect of all of this stuff. That's problematic and difficult to talk about.
I found his a little bit more family accessible too. He talks a lot about his family, which I feel like Dave rarely does, and when he does, it's sort of hold the joke in a lot of ways.
Yes,
like the bit he says, the bit that I had the most problem with, the Chinese version thing. And he's like, I ran that bit by my wife, and she hated it too.
Yeah,
but I mean, I only use that voice whenever we're arguing. I was like, it's just funny, but like still like.
But that wasn't that funny though. That's the thing, is the joke wasn't quite there. Like,
okay,
you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
There was an element that he was talking about. Bill Burr was talking about his wife, and he was like in that. However,
right,
there's an aspect to all of that he wasn't talking about, which is that the systemic oppression makes the rules totally different for persons of color.
Right.
You know what I mean? He doesn't bring that up, but I still have faith that he understands that aspect of it.
Well, he doesn't. He kind of brings it up. He's like, because there I am watching, this story, this documentary about Elvis, with my white face, through my white eyes, and my white head.
Yes.
And I can, hear... the difference in my wife who's black watching it.
Yeah.
And like he even addresses the fact like he hates as a comedian making those that the difference in a white guy is I gotta do
but
my
that's
taxes.
Exactly what he does. And that's the joke. Yeah. That's the trope of that joke, and he does it there. And it is funny, but he's actually making fun of the trope of that joke while telling the joke at the same time. So, yeah, I think, yeah.
Did you like it?
I did,
like
yeah.
it?
I like the Dave Chappelle one, too. You know what I mean? I did not come out of this one. Watching Bill Burr and my reaction to Bill Burr versus my reaction to Dave Chappelle made me question if I had some sort of unbiased racism that was not allowing Dave Chappelle to get away with it while it was allowing Bill Burr to get away with it. So I had to really examine that.
Which is why I kind of suggested that we do that this week.
Yeah.
Because initially when I first on my first pass through of watching it, I kind of felt like he was kind of addressing some of the same kind of things that Dave was addressing in his special, but like nobody was up in arms about it. Nobody was like getting on Twitter, and he actually addresses that, I think, in the special. He was like, when he's going off on the tangents about feminism or whatever, he's like, before you feel like you got to get on thing and hashtag me or whatever, blah blah blah. He actually tackles some of the same things, that like the censorship, the way that comedians have to sort of bow and scrape and be like, hey, it's just a joke. He kind of addresses that in a way that is, I don't want to say low or softballed, but he definitely, like, it felt like Dave made that more a part of the special. Like that joke about like how you can't say anything and how it's gonna come back and how it's gonna ruin you. He took a bigger chunk of the time to tell that joke than say Bill did. Bill was like, you're gonna blah 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 blah, and then he kind of quickly moved on to something else.
Well, because I felt like Dave was really putting a version of himself out there and saying, if you're not on board with this, I don't care. Whereas Bill was putting a version of himself out there that was like, I'm also making fun of these issues, but
I care.
But I do care. And you know what I mean? Yeah. So it felt a little, you're right, it felt safer to me, but I think he has to be safer.
You think Bill has to be safer?
Yeah, I think he has to be safer.
So
than Dave.
almost to what Chappelle was saying in his special, where like you can't really say what you really want to anymore for fear of reprisal or for fear of whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I feel like we're on a very slippery slope with that kind of thing, especially when you're talking about comedians and comedy and what that is.
But I'm glad that both these specials exist.
Yeah, I am too, because it allowed us to sort of like take a look at them like ostensibly side by side and kind of like see how they were both successful and see how they were both kind of like disparate.
Right.
Because I think they're both equally good specials.
Right. But the real thing is that there's not an equality between anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's no equality between one comedian who's black and one comedian who's white. Mm-hmm. You can't say this guy can say this, but this guy can't, and that's not fair.
Right.
Those things are false equivalencies.
Right.
And it's sort of like what we were talking about, the bedbug guy last week, whereas we joke and we laugh about it, and he got upset that somebody called him a bedbug, but had it been a person of color who was upset about these things, we would have taken it seriously. Well, but they're not equal things.
They're not. There's also like, one could argue like the fact that Dave Chappelle in his special, he has littered with N-bombs. Like, I mean, that's just him. That's just him. That's how the way he's always spoken to us and how he's talking. But you like. That's not a way that Bill Burr could ever really get around doing it. But like, I feel like it's become so ingrained in what is Dave Chappelle, like we don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was sitting there watching the special and I was like, damn, he definitely does use the N-word a lot.
Yeah.
I
think that's I could be wrong about this, but I feel like he's been doing that more.
Yeah. In the same way.
I could be wrong about that. I don't know.
It felt like to me that it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't typically clock that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the one to be like, oh, well. But it definitely seemed like there was an uptick in it. And that's not, that. Like I said, that's always been a part of Dave's stand-up. That's always been a part of his thing. But, like, when we're talking about equivocations and who gets to say what, like, this is one of those things.
It's always going to be about context.
Yeah.
You have to understand the context. And every situation is different. You have to examine every situation in its own little bubble.
Melania's jacket.
Melania's jacket, exactly. I gotta go pick up the kids.
Okay.
We can come back and do the letters real quick if you want.
Nah, just save it till next week.
You sure? They're kind of about it and all those things.
They're about it?
Yeah.
Nah, we'll
save it for next week.
Save it to next week. I mean, it's not gonna.
If
go
you're listening,
bad.
Sean and Bo, we have letters from you, and we will read them.
We'll
next.
get to you.
We'll get to them. We just ran out of time again.
You motherfuckers listen every week anyway, so it's not like you're gonna miss much. We'll just parlay it to next week.
I'm Lawrence Sal.
And I'm your boy Rob Karma.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys. Later, haters.
Oh, we're not making that.
You love it. You love it.
We're not making that.
Furious anger that will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger. Furious anger. Furious anger. Furious anger. Furious anger.
I want to thank Chairwoman Maxine Waters for the opportunity to testify. And I would like to thank Ranking Member Patrick McHenry for taking the time to Google who I am.
Cute. Very
My
cute.
name is Hasan Minhaj. I'm a Muslim, and I condemn radical Islamic terrorism. That has nothing to do with anything. I just want that on the record. It's good to get ahead of these things. Now, Chairwoman Waters invited me here today because I host a political comedy show on Netflix called Patriot Act, which means I may owe some of you guys royalties. Now, we recently did an episode on the student loan crisis, and it really hit home with our audience because 44 million Americans owe more than $1.6 trillion of student loan debt. In fact, the day we shot our episode, we polled our studio audience. It was only about 200 people. In that room alone, had over $6 million of student loan debt. Now, granted, our audience is mainly unemployed poli-sci majors, but that's still a lot of money. Now, this issue is sidelining millions of Americans. People are putting off marriage, kids, homeownership, and retirement, especially my generation. So I'm 33, and growing up, it was drilled into our heads. You gotta go to college if you want a middle-class job. And we even tell kids today, look, if you don't go to college, you might as well get a face tattoo. And then they point to Post Malone, and we're like, okay, that's one guy. He's a very popular musician. But it's true, 2/3 of all jobs in America require at least some college. This is the standard now. And that wasn't the case when most members of this committee were in school. And you paid far less for your degrees. That's not speculation. We looked up where the 60 members of this committee went to college and what your school's tuition was at that time. Even adjusting for inflation, college cost way less across the board. So, Chairwoman Maxine Waters, your tuition at Cal State LA in 1971 was the equivalent of about $1,000 a year. Today, Cal State costs well over $6,000. That's more than a 500% jump. Congressman King, right? In 1965, Congressman King paid the equivalent of almost $10,000 a year at St. Francis College. Today, St. Francis costs over $25,000. On average, this entire committee graduated from college 33 years ago and paid an inflation-adjusted tuition of $11,690 a year. Today, the average tuition at all of your same schools is almost $25,000. That's a 110% increase over a period of time when wages have gone up only 16%. So people aren't making more money, and college is objectively way more expensive. You see what's happened? We've put up a paywall to the middle class. And if there's one thing Americans don't deserve more of, it's paywalls. That's why we put up our entire show for free on YouTube. It's also because you can't really find anything on Netflix. It's like the lost and found bin of entertainment. You're like, great, another show about people who love cake. Now, despite these numbers, you often hear the idea, these kids wouldn't be in trouble if they just took some responsibility. But they're trying to be responsible. They're investing in education, and they are trying to pay their loans back. And yet many borrowers are still treated like deadbeats because the government has put their financial futures in the hands of predatory, for-profit loan servicing companies. Companies like Navient and other companies you will hear from today have a history of misleading borrowers and pushing them into repayment plans that in some cases have cost individual borrowers tens of thousands of dollars in unnecessary interest. And the worst part is, borrowers don't even get to choose their loan servicer. The Department of Education chooses for you. So there's no competition that makes these companies provide better service. Now look, we know the deck is stacked against student borrowers in ways that it wasn't 10 or even 15 years ago. And they deserve some basic protections. Americans should not have to go bankrupt pursuing higher education, and they should never be preyed upon by underregulated loan servicing companies. So members of this committee, we know the government is capable of stepping in during a financial crisis. So really all I'm asking today is, why can't we treat our student borrowers the way we treat our banks? Because 44 million Americans, that is too big to fail. Thank you so much for your time, and I will now go back to where I came from.
Thank you, Mr. Minhaj.